Hi, I've had a bit of problems. I don't know why, but the live video just stopped working. And that is really annoying. That has not helped at all. So I do apologize about that, guys. Um, should be working. Should be working anyway. Let's see. Of course, I can't find it. Hey, Sudo, welcome. Okay, guys. Hi, guys. I think we're back. I don't know what happened to the connection. It completely went. Um, I don't know why. I don't know why it just cut out. Is this now working? No, I don't know. Hey guys. Hello and welcome. Good afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to have to try and find a way of solving that problem. I have no idea why that happened. No idea at all. It's really annoying actually when this sort of thing happens because it shouldn't happen to begin with. I had a perfectly good connection and it just stopped working for some reason. Yeah, so I'm really sorry about that, guys. Hopefully most of you can find your way back. I think most of you have. Welcome back. I'm going to have to try and sort this one out later. Anyway, guys. Catalina says hello. Good afternoon. Thank you. Welcome back, guys. Sorry about that problem. Okay, so to help you guys out, we're looking at some tongue twisters with the schwa sound. Okay, so I'd like you guys just to repeat after me. Okay, uh 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 uh. This is the sound. Now, this can be confused with a few other sounds, which we need to think about. Okay, so let's take this other one that we can confuse the sound with. Right, and let's see if I can explain this. Okay, you've got and then you've got So you've got and uh, 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 uh. All right. America. So on one hand you have America, and on the other hand you have erd, 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 erd. So I went to America and I was with a bird. Okay. Evelina says good afternoon. Good afternoon, Evelina. Okay. So we've got these two sounds that we can confuse. I went to, I went to, I went to America, went to America, went to America, I went to America. And I was, and I was, and I was, and I was with a bird. I was with a bird, actually a bird, sorry, a bird. You got and uh, 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 Try and practice saying that, guys. One is like America, it's very soft, and the other one is bird, which is uh. So you can probably hear why they are difficult because they sound very similar. So that is one type of pronunciation that we need to think about. Okay, guys. The other that I want to look at today is contractions. What happens when two words are put together and are made short? So, for example, I would like a beer. I would like a beer. Then we've got I'd like a beer. I had a beer. I'd sorry, I had gone out. Let's go with I'd gone out. Okay. So we've got here the I'd. Okay, you got I, and then you're just adding a d, and that would be I would like a beer, and that is shortened to I'd. I'd, I'd, d, 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 d. I'd like a beer. I'd like a beer. I had a beer. So as you can see, we can use the abbreviation ID can be I would or I had. And we need to be careful. If it's would, there'll be a verb. If it's had, there won't always be a verb. But then we need to think about what type of verb. So if you have a would, then it's going to be followed by a normal verb, like say, well, infinitive. Let's do it that way. Okay, it's going to be followed by an infinitive of some kind. If we use had, we know that, and there's a verb, it's probably going to be a past participle, for example. So that is how we can know what type of abbreviation it is. Pronunciation wise, guys, it's quite easy. You're just saying I and d on the end. I'd like to go. I'd like to go. I'd never thought of it, for example. So let's practice this. I would, okay? So in this case, the I'd is going to stand for would, okay? I'd never thought I'd go to Spain. I would never, oh gosh, no, let me write that again. Let me write that again. I've made a mistake. Apologies. So I had never thought, that should be had. I had never thought, because it's a past participle, I'd go, so this would be would, to Spain. I'd never thought I'd go to Spain. I'd never thought I'd go to Spain. I'd never thought I'd go to Spain. I'd never thought. I'd never thought I'd go to Spain. I had never thought I would go to Spain. So that is what we are saying when we say it long. Contraction, I'd. I'd. Have a go, guys. Try saying I'd. And see if you can create your own little sentences that can help you with this as well. So the other thing that we can look at, which can often be a problem, and I've spoken about this before, I'd a beer, I had a beer. If you're saying I'd a beer, I mean, it's a bit strange to abbreviate I had a beer to I'd a beer. It's not something we would say. Usually we would not contract that. We would not contract the I'd a beer. We would just say I had a beer. That's one. If you can see, I stopped myself from making that contraction because I realized. So it's a nice idea, but we can't do it. Well, we could, but we don't do it. Let's put it that way. As natives, we don't do that. In a conditional, we would write, let's say, if I had gone, I would have stayed. Okay, let's say that's a sentence. If we contract that, that's going to be, if I'd gone, I'd have stayed. Okay, there we can see two types of I'd. If I'd gone, I'd have stayed. So in this case, we're imagining that, let's say I didn't go to South Africa, but hypothetically, if I had gone to South Africa, I would have stayed. That's what this sentence means. But this is another example of how you can use the contracted form. Now, let's move on to the next thing. If at any point you want to stop me, you want more examples, just let me know. So, next one that we need to look at today, and this time I'm going to give you the chance to try and create your own sentence, tongue twister maybe, one that I know everyone struggles with. So I talked and asked, but I couldn't. Okay, let's try this one. Regular verb endings. Here you then have this contracted connect. Not contracted. Sorry. You have this KT sound. KT sound. Okay. If you can say I talked and asked, but I couldn't have worked. So here we've got a few sort of contractions. You've got the KED, which becomes KT. Okay, so that's a consonant. That's a consonant contraction there. And then you've got another type of contraction, which is the shortened version of couldn't have, could not have, couldn't have, couldn't have. I talked and I asked. You'll see here that if your regular verb ends in KED, this makes a KT sound, okay? KT. I asked and I talked and I asked, but I couldn't have worked. KT, KT, KT. So it's a difficult, it's difficult to pronounce clearly. So here you need to record yourself. I invite you guys, see if you can make a tongue twister out of regular verbs. That's always a good one. Okay. Another one with regular verbs is this one. Okay, you've got the sh, and you've got pushed, and you've got punched as well. This is also a T ending sound. You got sh and sh. So I pushed, punched, and worked, but I couldn't ask, but I couldn't have asked or talked any longer. Okay, let's go with that kind of tongue twisterish sentence. I pushed and punched and worked, but I couldn't have asked or talked any longer. So you've got this t sound, okay? So here you've got the regular verb ending of the t. I pushed, I punched, so pushed, punched, I pushed, punched, and worked. I pushed, punched, and worked. T, 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 t. I pushed, punched, and worked. But I couldn't have asked or talked any longer. You can see there's no id. There's no pushid, there's no punchid, there's no workid, no askid or talkid. We cannot say id here. This has to be ud, asked. Sorry, this has to be the t sound. Pushed, punched, asked, talked, worked. That's all you need. So that is a little taste of regular verbs as well. At this point, guys, let me know. Let me know if you want to try something. Let me know if you want to, if there's a particular sound in words that you don't know, that you can't hear, and we'll see if we can. We'll see if we can address it. Okay, see if we can look at it. All right, guys. Finally, let's move on to the next thing. One of the important things is intonation. Now, intonation is how your voice goes up and down, okay? I went to the shop and asked for some beans. Okay, so you can see I'm including some repetition in the schwa and I'm also including the regular verb ending. I'm also including this went to again, okay? So I went to the shop, I went to the shop, I went to the shop. If you listen carefully, I'm saying that really quite carefully. I went to the shop, 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 I went to the shop. When I say it really quickly, you can see that the went to the, especially the to the, I am flying over that. I don't say that very clearly. Saying it slowly, it would be I went to the shop. 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 I went to the shop and asked for some beans. Okay, so that is the type of sound that we're looking at here. Now, what do I mean by word stress? What do I mean by that? Word stress is the strongest word you say in a sentence. In a sentence, sorry. In a sentence. Usually it will be the last word within a clause, for example, such as I went home. Okay, I went home. Home would be the strongest word. Now, if I put a comma, if I went home, which I now have to stress, it would take me a long time. So this is what I mean by a clause, for example. The first part of a sentence before the comma, and then the second part of the sentence after the comma. Usually, we are going to make that last word in a sentence the strongest word. That is where the main emphasis comes. That's where the main emphasis is. Sorry. So I went home. I went home. I went home. I went home. If I went home. If I went home, it would take me a long time. Long time. Long time. Long time. If I went home, it would take me a long time. You will see that this creates a wave in our English sounds. Now, just because I stress the word, it doesn't mean my intonation goes up. I don't say, if I went home, it would take me a long time. It sounds really strange. You go down at the end of a sentence. If it's not a question, a normal question, you go down. You don't go up. So if I went home, if I went home, home, if I went home, if I went home, it would take me a long time, a long time, a long time. So that is first and foremost. That's really important. Make sure you know where your stresses are. 2, if it's not at the end, sometimes we can have something called sometimes we can have something called emphasis stress. This is when the last word in the sentence is not going to be the strongest sound. We're looking at more things in a language. So this is with emphasis stress. So if it's emphasis stress, the emphasis is going to change, therefore the word changes, such as, so you might start off by saying, can I have the red one, please? Okay, now in a normal sentence, red one, please. So in a normal sentence, you're going to end up saying please, which will be the strongest word. Can I have a red one, please? Can I have a red one, please? Okay, please is the last word. Please is the hardest. But if we have emphasis stress, please will not be as strong as another word. Maybe it's one because you're just asking for one. Can I have the red one, please? Can I have the red one, please? Can I have the red one, please? There you're making, you're speaking with your intonation, with your word stress. No, I want one, not two, one. Maybe it's red. Can I have the red one, please? The red one, please. There we are changing this emphasis again because red is more important. You will always stress, in emphasis stress, you will always stress the word that has the most meaning, which is most important in that sentence. We don't emphasize regular functional language. We very rarely stress it. We can do, but most of the time we don't, because we don't need to. And it can confuse the meaning in terms of what we're talking about. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it to you for a little bit. Can you try and take some of the things we have spoken about and turn them into, try and write your own sentences. Let me know where the word stress is. Can you give me 2 words that end in K but have a different regular verb spelling? So can you give me 2 regular verbs that sound similar? Maybe not sound similar. Can you give me 2 regular verbs that end in kt? I think that is the better way of phrasing this question. So you guys are going to look, you're going to think, if you want to use the internet, you can. But can you give me 2 regular verbs that end in KT? You can't use asked, you can't use talked, and you can't use I can't remember which other one I was going to say, so I'm just going to leave it like that. You can't use asked, talked, or worked because I have already used those. So try and think of other words that you can use with this KT sound. Let's see what you guys come out with. Maybe you want to write it in an emphasis stress. Yes, you can do. You can change it to, so for example, where it says, can I have the red one, please? Can I have the red one, please? You might want to change that to, can I have the green one, please? Can I have the green one, please? Or the yellow one, please? So let me know in the live chat section, do you have any ideas of your own? Let's see who has. And with the regular verbs, can you find regular verbs that have a KT ending? That can be a bit difficult. That can be a little bit difficult. And don't be surprised if you get confused with some words. For instance, not every verb is a regular verb. Some verbs are irregular and they can be very annoying. Baked, blinked, good, well done, Suda Queen. Off to a really good start. Can anyone join Sudo Queen? Do any of you have a better idea? You've got baked and blinked, 2 really, really good words that is in keeping with KT as